Okay, so this video I'm going to be talking about your homework from the daily practice day 1. So we're going to do those questions real quick. I hope you've already tried them and you're just looking at the ones that you had problems with. So go ahead and fast forward till you get to the one that you had a problem with. Alright, so sorry, I'm turning my pages. Okay, day 1. So let's simplify the following expressions. So we have 7y plus 6y. They are like terms, so I can go ahead and add the coefficients. That's the numbers in front of the variable. So it's 7 plus 6, which is going to give me 13, and then it gets a y. So the answer is 13y. Because the like thing is y, it's just along for the ride, just like when we did fractions. All right, let's do this. Remember the bottom of the fraction? If I have 1/2 plus 3/2, I would add the tops, and this is what's like, so it's just along for the ride. Okay, so this is like with this. Now remember, I got to take the whole thing with the sign. So 4z minus 2z is just 2z. There's nothing like with the -5, so I'm just going to put it back here. That's the furthest I can simplify this expression. All right. All right, so my like terms are 3a, -2a, and 5a. So let's rewrite that. 3a minus 2a plus 5a, and then I have a plus 6 and a plus 9. That's also like. So let's combine these terms. 3a minus 2a is 1a, because I just take 3 minus 2, and that's 1, and the a is along for the ride. 1a plus 5a is 6a, because 1 plus 5 is 6. There's nothing else like with the 6a, so I'm done with it, with my a's, and I can do these two constant terms, the 6 and the 9, and when I add those together, I get a 15. Now bring down my 6a, and that is the furthest I can combine that. All right, remember the distributing factor. I'm going to have to multiply this 5 through the parenthesis. So it's going to be 5 times y plus 5 times 2. And then I have this minus y out here. Order of operations says I take care of my multiplication first. So 5 times y is just 5y. And 5 times 2 is 10. Now I can get those like terms together. I have this 5y and a -y that are like. And then the 10 isn't like to anything. Remember, when there's nothing in front of a variable, it's an understood 1. So 5 minus 1 is 4. Drop down my y. And the 10 isn't like to anything. So I'm going to drop it down. And this is the most that I can reduce this. Two more of this type. All right, first thing I have to do is distribute a -2 through. So -2 times 3y minus a -2 times a 7 plus 6y. All right, so remember, all I do is multiply. So a -2 times a 3 is a -6. Doesn't matter that they're not like, I can still multiply them, because like terms only matters if you're adding and subtracting, not when you multiply and divide. Because remember, when I had this, I had to make them like. But when I had this, I didn't care if they were like. I just multiplied across. Same idea here. I don't care if they're like, so I can just multiply them the way that they are. All right, so a -2 times a 7 is a -14. Two negatives make a +14. My like terms are a negative 6y and a positive 6y. Oh no, negative and a positive. So let's see what happens with that. So negative 6 plus 6 is 0. So it's 0 y's minus 14. If I have 0 y's, let's talk about that. If I put a 1 in for y, 0 times 1 is 0. If I put a 5 in for y, 0 times 1, 5 is 0. If I put a gajillion in there, it's still 0. It's always going to be 0, so I can get rid of that. The answer is negative 14. All right. Okay, so distribute the first. Do my multiplication. Get my like terms together. Add and subtract. So then that's going to be an 11x plus 18. That's the furthest I can simplify. Okay, a promoter charges $7 for each adult ticket. All right, plus an additional $2 for shipping and handling. Plus $2 for shipping and handling, for taxes and stuff. What is the cost of X tickets? Okay, so this is kind of like what we're going to be learning in our next class. But why not? Why not do it? So X tickets, X is my variable. Okay, so I'm going to have to take 7 and multiply it by what? Well, how many tickets I want, right? And that is going to be added to 2 times the amount of tickets I want, right? So the amount of tickets, if I want 10 tickets, I'm going to have to multiply that by 7 to figure out the total price. So let's say I have 10 tickets. Okay, so I put 10 in there. I'm going to have to multiply 10 by the total amount of tickets I want and 10 by the tax so that I know it's 90. Okay, so that's my little check to know that my formula is right. I'm going to have to take 7 times the amount of tickets I purchased, 2 times the amount of tickets I purchased. They happen to be like terms, so 9x. And that makes sense because if it's $7 a ticket plus $2 for tax, I'm really paying $9 a ticket, right? So I multiply that by the unknown amount of tickets I'm going to buy, and this is my expression. All right, in your own words, explain what the word expression. Well, an expression is made up of a lot of things. Numbers, operating symbols. If it's an algebraic expression, it's also going to have variables in it. If it's a number expression or a numeric expression, it's just numbers and operations. Remember, my operations are add, subtract, multiply, divide. We can also have equals. We're going to talk about that later, in parentheses. We're really going to be talking about a lot of that next week. I'm jumping ahead. All right, Jane is stuck trying to simplify the following expression. Write out how you would explain the process of solving this expression. Pictures are welcome. So, I gave you the creative freedom to explain this any way that you would like, or to draw pictures, or do it in math symbols. I don't care. So your answer may not be the same as mine, your process. Okay, so if I was explaining this to Jane, I'd say, look for distributing. I don't see any distributing, so I'm going on to the next step. Look for like terms. Well, I do have some like terms. P and 4P are like, but also, and then 3 is not like with anything, and negative T 5t is not like with anything. So I combine my two like terms, remember, and understood 1. I get a 5t, bring down my 3, my -5, and t. Okay, I don't have anything else that I can do after this, so I'm done explaining how to do this problem. It's now completely simplified. Oh, that was a bad circle. All right. That is all of day 1. Check back and look at day 2.